Welcome to the first episode of the IBS podcast for spring 2021, also known as ZGG IBS Split 8. This is episode 1 of Silver Scraps. We are returning again with my lovely self that you can actually get to see this time. We've got, as before, we've got that Decker guy over there, and we've got text down there. At least that's the way it is on my screen. And then over there, but you don't get to see their lovely visage, is Colonel Cannon.
Just to update that, I've got Leper here, Tex is up to my right, and then Colonel is to my right. So a little bit different perspective. You did your best though. You didn't know.
I tried.
We all revolve around Leper, so it's fine.
That's it.
The world revolves around me.
I want to quote this, has positioned his camera to best look like Hagrid that he possibly could. And I think that's wonderful. I just think that's top notch. So we're already the level of content for Silver Scraps has gone through the roof already. We're doing great.
It's off to an excellent start.
So given that this is week 1, and we don't know jack shit about any of these teams, except what some of us have experienced in scrims, watching our IBS teams play, and or just knowing these people around. We haven't actually seen them in official matches, and if we know anything from PLG last split, off-season scrims don't really matter.
This is true.
So we really are at a point of we have zero information. So we're just going to go over all the teams, try to get everybody introduced to everybody else, maybe talk about a couple of the matchups for this week, and then get into more detail next week. So yeah.
Let's dive into it.
Let's get into it.
Who's up first? We got VBU Titanium.
VBU Titanium is the first team that we're going to be talking about.
Wait,
some familiar faces.
Because we disagree on this, I think. I think that Yasuo only is going to be one of the best mids in this group. That's my first.
In this group, I will agree with. I will agree in this group. Okay, I will agree in this group.
Decker,
I do want to point out that just before we keep going, Catface King right there, some of you may remember as TJ.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Thank you.
That's
TJ from RAR TJ?
TJ from RAR TJ.
That's brilliant to know. I didn't know
That's really important to know. Okay.
This is why we have Leper here.
As a tradition of his weekly name change, I felt that we needed to share that.
And I recognize Timic
changes
also.
Timic was the jungler for PLG.
Yeah.
Now, my question, Decker, is with Leper's addendum here that in this group, yes, but in playoffs, where do you think if Yasuo only goes against the best mids across both groups?
We have some unknowns. I mean, we have plenty of unknowns like around the scene now because we have so many new players that we don't have much information on. But I think that we saw it last split that carry style mids make a big difference in your team. Things like Duero from last split and a lot of other good mids that I probably should have named, but
for Revolution Unknown Angel,
absolutely, yeah, Unknown Angel, great mid,
Devil's Spine,
thank you,
the Zeus Lord, there were a lot.
Yeah, but a lot of those teams were defined by their carry style mid laners, and I think that Yasuo only was up there. He was like close to the top of the mids as far as like pop off potential. He was inconsistent, but it's pop off potential. And now that some of those mids have graduated, away from IBS, I think he kind of, assuming that he took the time in the offseason to continue to improve, he shifts up, and I'm excited. I think now that I know that that's TJ, and I remember Timic from PLG, I'm not sure about the rest of the squad, but he's the one.
Renox is a returner as well.
Reno was the AD carry sub on VBU last split, so he's been in the league. This is his 3rd split. I played against him.
Yes.
In spring 2021. He's been on VBU. This is his 3rd split on VBU. His first, I believe, as the sole starter.
Honestly, I think VBU Titanium is coming in with the most veteran roster, like the most positions with people with experience.
I actually talked to FNC Clutch before this, and he put in his opinion this roster at a playoff roster. And to be honest, if I were him, I would be disappointed for this roster to get anything less than that, they have so much of a veteran presence. Everyone except for their support being the only rookie on their roster. If they don't at least make playoffs, I'd be disappointed for this roster.
Another
would be
point to
interested.
make
Oh, go ahead.
is that they are coached by a BOL admin extraordinaire, the Bully,
Everybody loves Bully, right?
who I can personally attest. To this man's coaching got me 2 whole divisions.
Wow.
So
Oh, man.
like the guy is a really actually knowledgeable, really good coach. Like I have personally benefited from the Bully's coaching.
And
If he can
on
coach
my-
Leper, he could coach anyone.
exactly.
True.
On
He
my
got
like,
me out of bronze, so
my
that's a
hierarchy,
big thing.
we're not talking about teams as like this is the first place team, second place team. We're not thinking about them that way because we just don't have enough information. But on my hierarchy of what teams I think are a lock to get out for playoffs, I think Titanium is probably up there in the
For
what's
sure.
my safe picks pool.
Given that, that's an interesting thing to bring up again too. Being that we are switching to this double round robin 6-team group format, we're doing away with the gauntlet. So only the top 4 teams in the regular season are going to make playoffs. There is no gauntlet anymore. We're eating that up with an extra week of regular season, essentially.
So only the top 2 teams from each group go on.
Four.
Six
Four.
teams,
Top 4.
right? So
There's
two
6.
good knockouts.
So the bottom 2
Gotcha.
are
Yep.
done. They don't get a last chance anymore.
And I don't think there's any way that this team is not in the top 4.
I would be very, very surprised if they do not make playoffs. Anybody have any more last thoughts on the one and only VBU Titanium?
I'm just
Always
interested to
lovely
see if
have
they
them.
hold together. I think there is a very small chance that there might be some personality clashes, but I don't know enough about these guys. But that is the element that I know the least about, right? I know all these guys perform very well in IBS, have had a history of success. They have an infrastructure behind them that's going to support them through their coaching and just through VBU as a whole. The only thing I don't know about these guys is how they play, right? I know TJ through the community and stuff like that, but like that's about all I know.
Interesting note that I just remembered. Timic and Yasuo only were the mid-jungle duo from PLG last split.
Interesting.
Yep.
I was on the
They-
PLG.
they were
hype train
rostered together.
last split. I got burned a bit, but I was on the PLG hype team.
They had good pieces, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to
Very
say it. I
good
mean, I
pieces.
picked up one myself.
Let's
We'll get there.
let's dive into the next team here.
So, I know very, very little about this team. I know that I believe I could be wrong. Somebody from the team may correct me. This is an organization put together by former VBU player Daedara Zart.
Okay.
That being said, I really don't know much about them. What I can say is that when we were balancing, part of how we balance groups is we assign a point value based off of the highest rank achieved of each of the starters. And the Fallen University was one of the highest ranked teams in that method of balancing in the entire league.
Yep. When I was looking through, I was seeing that they were all
on
very
paper, they look very, very strong, and it's a team that I'm really, really interested to see more of because I really don't entirely know a lot. I've seen them scrim, not personally, but I know that people have talked good things. I just don't have any first-hand experience here.
I definitely think, based on just looking at it, right? Again, I have less knowledge about them, like their in-game stuff than you do, Leper, from what you've described. But just looking at their accounts, and kind of what they play and the success they've had in solo queue and things like that, and just kind of how everything seems to match up, I think they have a very strong jungle, like to prop up the team around. I'm considering them a playoff team. I don't know where on that spread of the top 4 they'll be, but what I want to see out of them is where's their like true carry going to be, right? Like Decker was talking about last split, it was everything was very much defined by carry mids, right? Our carry mids with some jungle mid synergy. I don't know with the champ pools and the playstyles of these guys in the mid and the bot side. I don't know which one's going to be the carry. And I want to see as the season goes on how that's going to manifest, because that could be a big deciding factor, especially going against the likes of what we just talked about with VBU.
Interesting thing just on the topic, because we've hit on carry mids a little bit. My personal belief is that over the time that I've been in IBS and have been watching IBS, that the meta of how organizations structure their teams is moving away from like the passive control mid player and have been moving more and more towards these high impact carry mid lane players. So it's interesting to see that is becoming more and more a thing, whereas when I first started playing here and watching IBS, that Orianna control mage players were very, very much the dominant meta kind of thing.
Yeah. And looking at this guy just in 2021 alone, their mid laner is playing control mages. He's got a Nivea, Lissandra, Orianna, right? And I'm interested to see how that's going to match up against things like Yasuo only and some other mid laners we're going to talk about that play. Yone is super popular right now, right? Like these high pressure, high damage mid laners that are out to just get some blood. It's going to be interesting how these control mage mains match up against that.
Also, to answer that, I think that I would have agreed with you before the season that we slowly have been transitioning from these control mage mid laners into these more aggressive, like I'm going to win lane, win game kinds of mid lane players. But when I look at this season's roster, I sort of see a revival in terms of control mage players and people who I think are going to be really good while playing control mages. I think both in a lot of the new teams like Fallen University. I also think CB rookies, Little Rodney. I know on my org in MIT that control mage players are going to be getting a lot of time, and I'm interested to see if the trend is going to continue, like you said before, and they're going to keep going toward these more aggressive picks, or if it sort of comes back and some of these control mage players can really not only stand their ground, but push their team over and get a win.
Very true. Very.
My hot take right now, and I'm gonna eat crow on this probably, but I think there's gonna be I see where you're coming from, and I think there's gonna be a hard stratification between those control mage players and those other types, Yone type players that we're talking about. I think when it comes to playoff time, the best teams by a long shot are gonna probably be the ones with the super aggressive players. That's my hot take. Could totally be wrong, but I definitely see where you're coming though. Like the population in this IBS group, in both groups in IBS, it's very there's a lot of control mage players.
I've never seen so many Anivia mains on starting rosters. It's
it helps that Anivia is super strong right now.
Yeah, for sure. And she's forgiving into those assassins, right? Because you get two chances. You guys want to go to Abyssal?
Right.
Oh, could I get one more point on?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think we've been talking a lot about mids, but I know I have points for other teams in this in IBS that I want to look at jungles. And so I think for one of the teams that I don't know much about, their jungle looks disgusting. Like he looks like he's really I think he could be like a top 3 jungler in all of IBS. And if I don't really know what the meta is going to bring, but if it goes back to something where jungle plays more of a pivotal role, I think it already does already. Then I think that Fallen are going to be someone that could really surprise people.
Yeah,
I can see that entirely.
Team, 100%. I would be surprised if they don't make playoffs at a minimum. All right, Decker, you got thoughts on Abyssal?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is another.
Before Decker goes there,
sorry.
another name change that you may not be aware of.
Okay.
Cyber Angel Yami was formerly known as Enemy Scuttle.
Where were they at? Because that name doesn't ring a bell to me either.
They, after Gamer123XD left EOU Sunset.
Okay.
This was the jungler they brought in to replace him.
Oh, you're making me feel old now.
And is now playing support, right?
Okay.
Yeah, he's now playing support.
Yeah, so this is, I think these three teams that we're about to talk about, but between Fallen, Abyssal, and then Beyblades, which is next, are for me are pretty unknowns. I know a few of the players on Beyblades, but I don't know most of them. So I'm gonna kind of lean on you guys and just like OP scouting. It always interests me though seeing a team with so many players listed. That always interests me to see if there are these or so other than Cyber Angel Leopard. What do you know about any of the rest of the are there returners?
I'm gonna stay a little silent because we're recording this on Monday night, January 18th. So when I say I scrimmed them yesterday, I mean January 17th.
Right.
So I literally just scrimmed them. So I have firsthand experience with this team. So I would like your thoughts, and I can confirm nor deny, so to speak. I will say, though, too, that this lineup listed here was not the lineup that I scrimmed yesterday.
I was
So I
thinking
don't
that this
know.
would be
And
my
just
dark
looking
horse
at the
team.
roster change channel, I think they have made changes since that scrim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Based on what I was seeing on the roster sheet as it is for this January 18th call that we're having, I was considering them kind of my dark horse coin flip for playoffs, thinking that they may make it and be a surprise. But I'm not sure. It's hard to tell.
From playing them yesterday, they definitely have the potential, but it's going to be a long road.
Gotcha.
And not so much on a skill end, but it was, at least in the scrim, there were definite clear moments of where it felt like they had just kind of had enough and just wanted the game to be over. And that's something that you really have to overcome to be able to make it up.
And that's something that's typical to me of new teams, right? Because I think that they're probably not used to the like they're used to playing solo queue against other silver players of their caliber who they can just beat, but having a 5-man organized team, especially one like FTD that's y'all been playing together for a while now, having them sort of like just outplay you on the map feels really bad the first time it happens to you when you're getting into competitive. It feels really bad. It's not something you're used to feeling in solo queue, and seeing that happen into a roster or like a roster boom. When we say swap, how many players would you say are different?
So the mid laner, the current top laner was the mid laner.
Okay.
Yesterday, and then the two bottom subs, Swarmed and the Scout, were top and jungle.
Okay. So two swaps basically. It's concerning, but I like it as a dark horse pick. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna defer that to you. I'll let you have that one, Tex, as your dark horse.
So one thing that I am gonna say here for real, and I know we keep talking about mids. Jason KB23, really good Yasuo. Like seriously, on his back alone kept his team in the game with that pick. So they definitely have the potential. It's a lot of it is going to be with a new team, with a new coach, newer coach, right? It's a lot of it is going to be how can they figure out how to actually work together and realize the differences between ZGG IBS and Clash, and then solo queue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I would want to go back to Jason KB23. I'm hesitantly excited about him. He was the only what I often see with new teams that don't have long-standing ties to ZGG, that they're sort of tentative. They're sort of they don't want to be the one to screw up. He's the only player on a new roster that before the season has even started has been in banter chat, which makes me really happy. I don't know him at all personally, but I hope he either pops off or gets popped off on, because I feel like it'd be incredibly entertaining.
He from playing against him, right, and just some of you know my champion pool, and me saying that he's a Yasuo player if I'm going mid, that should say something, right? So I leaned against him, and he plays like he does not care about fucking up, which is a very, very big positive.
That's huge.
They do have a veteran who is trying to step up and be a leader. So between Yami and Jason, they have a foundation there of people that have pretty good mental to try to get them together. So there definitely is room for this team to make it into playoffs.
Perfect.
Let's talk about Beyblades. I see Stone Poet and Mikado Bone, who I know are returning names from last time. From last
So is
split.
Commander Killer, if I'm remembering this individual correctly, I don't know if they played in summer, but if I'm remembering this correctly, they played for Astro in spring 2020.
Okay. That is unfortunately before my time. But I do remember Stone Poet and Mikado Bone being solidly middle of the pack, if I remember correctly, from last split. I think last split's like the dichotomy between bot lanes was pretty big in my opinion. I feel like there was two groups. There was the top tier and the bottom tier, and there was a lot of spread in that bottom tier. But
Yeah.
I'm a little biased. But I remember they're coming in, and I think having some veterancy in the bot lane is going to be solid, especially given the volatility of jungle and mid. If you can have at least a rock to build around from that bot side, that'd be pretty good. But I really don't know much about this roster.
From when we scrimmed them, they have capable players in every role. Stone Poet seems to have really improved from last split. My big hope is to see more diversity in champion pool and not such a stark contrast in performance that's pick dependent.
Mhm.
I hate to just piggyback
Willow
on that,
hit.
but yeah, we scrimmed them like a couple weeks ago, and GSG did, and I think like it did feel like they were just you'll understand this. I think they were just like missing a piece of their play style, and I think they had good laners. I think a lot of our solo laners and for GSG this split, and they were keeping pace with those laners, but they were just something that kind of came apart when the team play started happening. They just sort of kind of fell apart. So I think that they
When
go ahead.
Oh, go on. Oh, what I was going to say, a similar thing to when we scrimmed them, but I can say, at least from our scrim, when they do have a very clear idea of how the composition gets played, they know how to do it, right? It's not, it may have been that specific comp or that specific day. When they know what to do, they can do it and they can execute it. The only other thing that I really was going to say here is I think that Willow Haven is going to be one of the junglers to watch in the league.
I agree.
Right.
Willow was a guy that almost landed on MIT. He was very close to, and we watched him very closely when he performed in our tryouts. He has really good pathing compared to a lot of junglers in IBS. So I think I'm very excited to see what he can do on that roster, and especially the mid jungle duo with Commander Killer. I'm old. I guess it's just me and Leper that are old enough to remember, but he wasn't amazing his last time around, but he never really was bottom of the barrel. So I think if he can keep the consistency that I remember him for and have some of those highs as well, then pairing him with Willow, I think that could be a really scary mid 2v2.
If I'm remembering this correctly, and please blast me in banter chat and general if I'm wrong, because this might be a detail that I'm completely misremembering and getting Commander Killer 2 mixed up with another player. I believe this is Fishing for Honor's little brother.
No way. I have no idea if that's true, but if that's true, holy shit.
If I'm remembering what I was told last
I haven't
spring,
heard that name in a long time.
I think he is Fishing for Honor's younger brother. I could be very wrong. It might be a cousin or something like that, but that's one of those maybe I'm remembering very, very wrong kind of details.
Interesting.
I have no idea, but now I sort of hope so.
So next up we have CB rookies.
I want to hear. I
So
want to hear
some of you
Colonel
may
and
know
Leper's
what
opinions on this
CB
one.
stands for. I have been specifically told by one Mr. Coach Accelerate himself, do not use what that stands for. He would like them
Yeah.
to be
Okay,
referred
so
to
we-
as CB.
So we're
Which-
just giving them the TSM treatment, right? We're just not saying what it means
Correct.
anymore, just calling it what it is.
Just call it CB. Yeah.
Which
Got it.
So
I just do want
Hopefully,
to put on the record.
hopefully they perform better than the other no longer to.
I do want to put it on the record, though. I missed the name. I missed the name. No,
Yeah, I can't,
it was fun. It was fun winning or losing.
Since
to,
we have
to
a
the old man.
Hagrid, should we just go with the team that must not be named type thing?
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
The team that must not be
acronym
named.
That must not be said.
I will say I think that and Leper helped me because my memory is much worse than yours. But last split, Swag was one of my absolute favorite junglers, and he was on
Yes. VBU.
BBU, right? He to me, and I want to get y'all's thoughts on this idea. But to me, this group, I think the weakest role is probably jungle in this group. If I'm like looking at it objectively and just looking
in
at
Group A?
OPs. In Group A,
I would agree.
and I think that Swag is going to just run over the jungle for most of his games. He's a veteran
We
player.
had
He's
him-
had success in the past, and I'm excited to watch him play again. So
All
have
of
a
us
hot take.
on the podcast last split could not decide. We could not decide whether or not Swag was number 1 or number 2. And the other guy
I was number 1.
I was number 2. We were split evenly, but the other guy that he was competing with was Freddy One Dog Woof Woof, currently known as Ambition.
Yep.
So for him to be he's incredibly top tier jungler for IBS.
I am not so sure that. So I do not disagree that he is a good player and that was and is one of the best junglers in IBS right now. 100% agree with that. I am not confident about the rest of the team. I am not confident that this is a playoff team.
You did
I
play
would
with
say
their
the
top
exact
laner.
opposite.
I was going to go the opposite too. Yeah, go ahead.
This
Colonel.
is why I think it's a hot take. I don't have a lot to really. It's a gut feeling. I'm not feeling like
I think
super
their
strong
top
about this
jungle.
team.
I think their top jungle is like a rock for them. Like looking at them with Chef Boy and then Swag Money Boy. I do not know. Oh, and on paper, I think that their bot lane probably looks like the scariest bot lane in this group in my head. Leper has
To throw some fuel on this fire. When we were balancing groups, this is the number 1 team in the entire league. On
By
paper.
points?
from like a power
By
points,
points.
right? Yeah.
Based on peak ranks from season 10, this is the number 1 team.
Yeah, I agree. Which is why I think Texas cracked. So
No, I am ready to be proven wrong. I got a gut feeling, man. I am not so sure how this team's gonna pan out. Maybe they're 1 and 2 with VBU, or maybe they're 5 and 6 with who's my 6? I think I had Beyblades and Abyssal as my kind of bottom half group. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. I am not convinced, but yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think a lot of this opinion is coming from the fact that your last game played of last split was with Bob.
It definitely plays a factor in affecting my
Okay.
confidence.
at least he's honest.
So, I sort of, to be honest, have about the exact opposite opinion. You said that you were very confident in jungle and not confident in the rest of the map. So I know a good amount about the rest of the map. Rook and Little Ronnie are both players that almost made.
Oh, I think we lost you there, Colonel.
I think he died.
Our roster. Oh,
Okay.
Oh, you're
Should be
back.
back?
Yeah, you're
Should
back.
be back.
We lost you right as you were starting to talk about the players.
Yes.
Awesome. So Rook, I think, is someone who mechanically is one of the best supports in IBS. I think our biggest problems with Rook were in terms of communication, because support is such a pivotal role for communicating for your team. But in terms of mechanics, he was gross. And little Rodney, how I knew him before I found him in MIT tryouts, is he, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure he is one of the BOL casters.
Correct. And random other fact of trivia, he has played for FTD.
Wow, I did not know that.
I feel like everyone at this point has played for FTD. So.
It's not really an accomplishment at this point. The notable factor though was that he played on FTD White, which is arguably the worst team ZGG Gold has ever had.
What does it say about me that I tried out for FTD?
I feel very confident that I have that title. Not White.
Okay. FTD White, for those that do not remember, won literally 2 individual games entire split.
I bet winning 2 games is an accomplishment. What about winning 0?
Okay, no, this is gold, not IBS.
Okay.
To be fair,
sorry.
that's what I was
Gold, not IBS.
But I'm gonna jump in here.
You will not take that trophy from me for IBS. You won't do it.
I think
Colonel, finish your thought because I want to bounce off of that real quick.
I think Little Rodney was someone that we really liked, and I think he's actually very good, especially considering that in terms of his OP, especially considering I didn't know this, that his team is rated the highest in points. He doesn't have an impressive OP, but he plays much better than his OP does. So with that in mind, I think that he's very good. What I'm not as confident about that you said you were is jungle. Swag Money was jungler for VBU last split. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm bad at remembering things. They had a really gross win streak through Gauntlet to bring themselves into playoffs. And I think for the time before that, before they started that win streak, when they found themselves in the Gauntlet in the first place, that I wasn't actually too impressed with Swag. And then he flipped a switch and looked god tier. And I'm worried if we're going to get playoff Swag Money or if we're going to get regular season Swag Money. And I think that there is a stark difference in CB rookies depending on which one you get.
I want to jump off that to continue to use some of what you're talking about to try to further my stance here a little bit. So you highlighted the supports struggle with communication, and you're concerned about the performance from the jungle during the season in a low pressure environment. I think and I'm curious to hear your input on about the mid laner, but I think if the support struggles to communicate, I know the top lane communication is piss poor. And if we're getting regular season Swag Money where he struggled to have coordination with his team like you're talking about, I don't know if this team may scrape by in playoffs and then have a rocket to the top. But I am not confident in one of the things that we were talking about earlier with another team, translating the strength in lane to a strength as a team. I think that's where I'm feeling this team needs to prove to me that they've got it.
That's fair. Totally fair.
Can we agree on something though? I think all 4 of us can agree on this one.
We probably can't.
If they hold together, they are probably a top team.
Yeah, I think that's easy. Especially when top is 4 of 6. Yeah, I think that this team on just like individual skill alone will be a top 4 team. And it would be very
surprising. Yeah.
If they coordinate, they'll be a top 2 team, I think.
Let's jump to the team I'm most excited for.
Me too.
Besides Revolution.
Goon
Squad Gaming.
Actually, we cannot say that VBU has more veterans than anybody else.
That's true.
We have
because Goon Squad has 4 as well.
We have 4.
A Goon Squad is a playoff team, in my opinion. I'm here for it. I was all aboard the hype train last time, and I think that with the work that Decker and company have done to bring this team up to speed, and with their mid laner, I'm on board. I'm on the hype train. I'm still riding it, man. It was like 2 passengers at the end of last season, but I'm here.
I'm so like torn. You guys, tell me to temper down because I'm so excited about this team. If for anyone that doesn't know, I'm the GSG owner, so like I've been working with this team for a while, and we would just like last split. Some history is that we didn't win a single game, just like none, not one.
You beat Rifters though.
We were ninth. Right?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Because they got DQ'd and we got ninth, which was my prediction, by the way. That was
one is better than 0.
Everybody else said 10. I said 9. You know what it is. I think that our solo laners are cracked this season. Like I mean, just like I think they're both in the top bracket of at least for this group, potentially in the tournament.
I will go out and say, at least in Group A, Salamander Speak is the best top laner.
Hard to
I agree.
Super
All
biased.
right.
Super biased.
All right, let's go.
100% the best top laner.
Yeah, he played
in my
mid for
opinion.
us. He played mid for us last split because he kind of had to. But he's back where he belongs, and I'm excited about that.
And I've played against I've played against every single top laner in this group except Fun Employed. So based on my personal experiences playing against them, Sal is the best.
I think my big hype, or the thing I'm most excited to see, besides Salamander Speak coming back, is this a role swap for him?
Yeah, he was originally
Technically. Yeah, right. Originally mid.
He was a top laner, but he was kind of forced to play mid last split, and now he's back top.
Yeah, he was a top player mid, and now he's back.
I mean, because if you look last split, he was playing like Set and Malphite and Pantheon in the mid lane, so it's like he's not really a mid laner.
I think one of the players to watch is Salamander Speak. I think we got like Swag Money Boy, we got all of VBU, we've got Salamander Speak, we got Skeleton. I think Skeleton is going to be a big one to watch coming into.
He's gross, man.
Group A here.
You can go check the fucking tape. All of you. You can find it on the Zero Gravity Gaming YouTube channel. In the final episode,
Shameless
I said that my person to watch next split was Borbies.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
He has grown so much, and I am super, super excited to see what Borbies does in this group.
And again, like, this is like, obviously I'm close to this team. Like, he has the most hunger out of anyone on this team to be better. Like, he has a deep desire to be useful to his team, not even to like individually shine. Like, he just wants to be useful to his team. I think that you will see the most improvement from him from anyone else from last split for our team. I think it'll look like a different player.
Colonel, what are your thoughts before we?
Yeah, if I could, I know we probably got to move on pretty soon, but I was gonna look at Borbies, and I sort of don't want to damper the hype train too much, but I think his group, while I do think they are I think this is a little bit of a weaker group. I think in the jungle position specifically, there are a lot of really strong junglers. I think Swag, when he's hot versus when he's not, when he's hot, he's probably one of the best junglers. I think Willow, I'm extremely excited for. Bot God was my player to watch on Fallen. I think if Borbies has had a good amount of growth, that GSG will be disgusting, but if he hasn't, I think it very quickly can fall apart just because of comparatively to the rest of the group, how strong the jungle position is.
Yeah.
I will say too that at least from when I played GSG, the big question mark is the bot lane.
Yeah,
and
so
that's
for some context
seeing
on
how
that, go ahead.
Oh, and I'm just going to say that this is a team that has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
The pieces that they have already are there, and if they continue the growth that they've been having over the offseason, this is a team that 3 months from now, when we're looking at playoffs, or 2.5, however you want to look at 10 weeks from now, is going to be really scary.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I know that all of these people have the work ethic and the drive to outwork the majority of players in this league.
the context of our bot lane is that Day was our support, and then we had a Ghost was our AD carry, and he is getting sent on deployment soon. He's in the military, so he's going on deployment.
Gotcha.
So he's unable to play. So Day role swapped, and honestly, I think that I think he was a pretty a lackluster part of a support in the versus. We had a lot of good supports in the league last split, but I think now on AD carry, he has kind of found a home, and he's performing a lot more consistently and doing a lot better things than he did on support. And then bringing another support main in with Axel, new to the scene. He's never played competitive before. He just came in through just being in the GSG community, and he wanted to try it, and we loved it. He's a good dude. He was fun to play with, and they've been working hard. They've been playing together a lot, and I think we're gonna. That's the question mark, I think, on our team. But I think that they're working hard to sort of make that an exclamation mark. I'm gonna be corny and say that they're trying to make it exciting and not a question.
Let's move on to Group B here, the Shadow Isles group. I want to talk about Leper Zone FTD. I'm pretty hyped up on them. I'm going from one hype team to another hype team for myself here. And I promise it's not biased because I'm on this podcast with you guys. GSG, I'm excited for it because of just the anime arc that they're going through. And then Feed the Dream, I'm excited for it because I had the chance to sub in for a scrim against them. And I think they have a very, very solid core, right? I think they have we're talking about junglers. I think they have an upcoming jungler that's going to be solid. Just coming out the gate strong and is going to go up from there. Leper, you're killing it in the top lane. Just the crazy amount of improvement from what you're playing last split to this split is wild to me. And I think your mid is that kind of Yone type that we were talking earlier. That's going to be controlling that lane and setting the tempo of the whole game. And I think all those pieces work together. My biggest question mark after getting to play against you guys is the bot lane, but I would just want to see more of that.
I think that their bot lane. I know we're early into Shadow, but I think that their FTD's bot lane is going to be the strongest bot lane in Shadow, hands down. I think that Chubby. I played with Chubby in the past. He was on a GSG. He was a sub for a GSG Gold team, and when I was the AD carry, and he subbed in for a few games, and I think Chubby is, first of all, delightful as a human being.
He's
such a great guy.
Wonderful human
being. He's
just
a wonderful person that you would be lucky to know. Just a delightful human.
He tried out for Rev.
My God,
we loved that guy. He's so great.
And I think he is going to be a really good. He's a very good support, especially for IBS. And I think that Nerf Snugglebutt is a good AD carry. I think that they will probably win most 2v2 bot lanes in Shadow Division consistently.
I imagine. So this is my number one team in this group. I think this is the team that's going
I agree.
finish first. And I think that bot lane, when I'm thinking about that bot lane, I'm thinking the concern is really playoffs. That's if in the state they are now, if they were to jump right into playoff level competition, might be tough. But that's 10 weeks down the line, right? And they're already good. So they're only going to get better.
I think the one thing I find really funny when I look at FTD, we talked about the the experience from VBU and the experience from GSG. I don't want to do math, so I won't. But I think Leper plus Snugglebutt probably has more experience in terms of how many seasons they've been around compared to a good chunk of the entire rosters in IBS.
So Snuggle, in terms of ZGG alone, okay, so this is just ZGG. There are only 2 other players remaining that have the same level of experience or more that I do, and both of them play for Revolution. Lynx is the only one to surpass me, and Denobi and I have been playing in the league the same amount of time. Our first season was summer 2019.
Am I that much? Wow, I'm really old. For this league,
in terms of ZGG, you were old. But I do know that Snuggle has been playing in Risen longer than that, and Lynx also competed in Risen. So Snuggle makes my veterancy look insignificant in terms of just competitive play. Now, the other thing I'll say, just as a random fact,
I'll go for it.
The majority of this team is over the age of 30.
Oh shit!
I love a boomer team.
That's funny.
It's my
Let's
favorite.
That's funny.
go.
So,
Man, I
so
thought
we've
Revolution
got
was an
we've
old
got
word, but
ADC sucks S10 as the 18-year-old baby. Me, Snuggle, and Chubby are all 30 plus, and then Merritt's I think 25.
So that's the same as the GSG
So
roster. It's a bunch of like close to 30-year-olds, and then Skeleton is like 15. So it's just
right.
these grown ass men, and then a literal child that is carrying all of this.
That's
wild.
Oh yeah.
So
No, it's great.
another fun tidbit that goes back to the level of experience. Not sure if it was in ZGG. Actually, this was during the time when ZGG wasn't called ZGG. It was ODL back then. And in winter of 2018, I found messages in Little Monkey text chats from Snuggle. And
Oh my gosh. Okay.
yeah, to see anyone from LTMK's first year as an organization, for how old an organization we are, an older organization than ZGG,
Yeah.
is crazy to me. So the level of veterancy on the roster, but also just as an ADC, is sort of ridiculous.
Another to just looking here in terms of, we have one of the 3 people remaining in the league with a IBS title.
What? That's
The other
you,
2
Lynx,
being me, Lynx, and TJ are the 3 remaining that have a title. So TJ is the defending champion. He won in Split 7. I won in Split 6. And Lynx won in Split 4.
Gotcha. Interesting. I want us to make sure that we're keeping moving along here. I'm excited for FTD. Top tier team across IBS, and definitely top team in Shadow Isles. I want to talk about Arcquake. I want to hear y'all's thoughts because I really don't know much about these guys.
So
pretty much the only thing that I know just from looking at OPs is that their mid laner looks like a very strong one trick, and I'm interested to see how that translates into playing competitively where one tricks just get banned. A lot of games on Lux. Did you see that? Yeah.
I saw the KDA, and I saw a couple games. I didn't realize that there was a third number in terms of games played.
So many games on Lux. So many. I don't want to do people scouting for them, but they should probably consider banning Lux against this team.
So, go on. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. Go ahead. Take it.
Their AD carry looks fucking nuts.
He does look.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that.
Good.
If you haven't looked through all the alt accounts, you need to look through all the alt accounts. This guy looks nuts. Not only can he play a lot of AD carries at a very, very high level, he can also play Akali and LeBlanc at a very high level. So
this is gonna be an interesting team. I have no idea where to put them.
This looks to be a really top team. This does not look like a joke. I don't know these players, but like they definitely on paper, if they can, like we've talked about with a lot of these new teams, work together as a unit and understand the differences between like Clash or just playing Flex together and make it work, they are going to be very, very scary.
I think we should have mid-season awards, like the PLG award or the Rifters award, or, well, you know, things like that.
The GSG award for who's doing the
I was going to say the GSG award, but I don't think anyone else is allowed to have that one.
It's out.
Well,
but anyways,
Rifters works for roster changes, so
I think Arcquake is going to be an interesting one to watch. Just all the new faces, some very distinct play styles and personalities. To keep things moving along, though, I want to jump into Crosspoint Koalimos, or however the hell you're
we don't know how to say that. If you know a good pronunciation for Koalamos, please let us know. All I really know is that we originally had it as Koala Emos, and they were very insistent that it be one word, and they dropped the second A.
Corrected.
We're gonna call him Crosspoint. I think that's okay.
Crosspoint works.
Okay.
I know one thing about this team. I know two things about this team. I know one is I know nothing about this team, and two is I really like their logo.
There's a lot going on in that, for sure.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot.
So
a lot of stuff.
I know we just talked about some top teams that had very, very high point values.
Mm-hmm.
Crosspoint and Abyssal Emerald had the lowest.
Yeah, you also see like a lot of first time ranked was last season for like 3 of their 5 players, which screams 2 things. It screams suppressing an account or a new player. Like those are the 2 options. So we'll see what happens. I think is what
I mean,
I'm
you
at.
should know if we had the same rules that we do now for summer, your entire team wouldn't have been able to play.
I would say 4 of my 5 players wouldn't have made it. We would have had 1.
Okay.
But yeah. So it's an unknown team. Are they affiliated with the standard Crosspoint organization?
I believe so.
Okay, that's a veteran org, right? They've been around for a long time, or at least that they've been around since I've been around, which is not that long. But again, it's just like Ghost Pants. I think could be a good mid laner. I think I remember like looking one of the weaknesses of me sharing my screen is that I can't actually pull up the OPs without clicking stuff. But I think that King of Brawl looked like an interesting jungler that he could make some moves. But really, we're just guessing because we don't know these players. But excited to see how they stack up.
My biggest people to watch for this roster was gonna be the mid jungle duo. I think I said sometime earlier on the show that I expect to see a revival in terms of control mage players. But I think Ghost, I want to say Ghost Opants. He's one that I feel like his champion pool is very wide. He has a good handful of really solid control mages, and then also can just like whip out the Diana or the Akali. So I'm excited for him, and more so in the mid jungle duo. I'm excited for King of Brawl since he's so new. I think not right out the gate, but if he can find strong growth, that they can become a very gross mid 2v2 if King of Brawl in his I assume first competitive season can find growth in the fives environment compared to solo queue, then I think they could be really good.
Let's jump to
So,
talk about veteran orgs. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Leper.
Monkeys in training.
Yes.
So I know
I'm
I've
excited.
hyped up GSG. I've hyped up Salamander Speak. For both good and bad, Monkeys in Training is the team that I am watching the most.
I would
Not
say the
so
same.
much in terms of like personal threat to me and my greatness to be an arrogant cunt. Oops, that I shouldn't say that word. Arrogant piece of shit. I think that's a better way to say it.
We'll fix it in post. It's fine.
We'll bleep it. Okay. Okay. But this is a really, really make or break split for the legacy of Monkeys in Training. Because there's not a lot of people left that remember the absolute dominance of MIT and Doc that existed for a very long time.
Yeah.
So this is the second split after that departure. So I'm really, really hoping that they return to that level of greatness.
I think so. I want to get on a little bit of. I'm going to talk a little bit about behind the scenes stuff. I think one of the things that I want to see, and I think one of the reasons why was a lot of change in the middle of last year, is the support for this silver team from the organization, from the structure, right? Like, do they have the support? Do they have the ability to train their players up and maintain a solid roster throughout a season and be successful and compete with at least the middle pack, right? And I want to see where that goes, right? I think last split was definitely a wake up call. I think they I remember specifically last split, first half of the split in summer, they had MIT had the longest game time on average, and were losing almost all of them. And then they had a flip where their game time average almost went down by like 30 to 40%, right? Almost cut their game times in half. Started winning, were competitive, were a serious threat in the back half of the season. And I want to see that mental shift continue to roll into this split. Like, as someone who represents Revolution, as someone who represents the org that Doc and Denobi went to, right? I want to see MIT. I'm interested in what they do.
Yeah. If I could hop, I do obviously have a little bit of the inside scoop. For
Get in
those
here,
of
Colonel.
you new to the or new to ZGG, MIT is under the Little Monkeys org, which I am co-owner of with Paca Paul. But I think last split, we had a big problem, which in private, me and Leper have actually talked about the different in discussion of raw player skill versus how players mold together. I think in terms of skill, last season, I did think we had a pretty good roster. We honestly last season was the first season that we weren't 100% positive if we were going to be competing in IBS. Because when Doc and Denobi left for Revolution was about a month before ZGG was to start, and we weren't sure if we were even going to have a roster. That's the only reason that I was playing as someone who doesn't deserve to be playing in ZGG was because we were really pulling at strings. But I think you did say it before that we had a big turnaround partway through the split, and I think that goes to show the kind of infrastructure we have in terms of coaching staff. But what happened toward the end of the split was a lot of personality clashes, and we didn't sort of take into account how important having a stable roster that likes each other over having star players. When like, for example, when we brought Sermon, obviously a name that was really that people knew, but it doesn't always necessarily grant you the win. So we had to take a step back, and now I think we've approached this season the right way. And this is the first season since Doc left that I'm very excited and very proud of what MIT is and where I think they can go.
I'm excited to hear all of that, personally.
So let's talk about some of these players because they got some good ones.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Also,
I know we've talked about some. Oh, go on.
I just want to. We haven't been able to correct it because we don't yet know. But our substitutes versus our starters are undecided. As we have always done in our org, we like to have a lot of internal competition. So all of that is a little bit unknown. But you could continue.
So one of the people that I'm most excited about in terms of just being a good person and being a really, really motivated person is Chinese Spy. If I'm not dying, my connection dying.
Go ahead.
He tried out for FTD. We absolutely loved him as a person. Unfortunately, Vinny kind of outclassed him, and we were getting a lot of synergy there between he and I. So I'm really happy, first of all, that he has found a really good place. But this is a roster with a lot of good pieces. Crockpot is a solid top laner. Thievery is... I've been hearing rumors of Thievery for the entire time that I've been there. It's a constant question that people have asked is, would Thievery be allowed to play in IBS? And the answer has always been yes. So that's the kind of thing here is you've got a lot of really good pieces here. If YMZI is the person that I think they are, I actually played with them briefly on Astro.
I think so, yes.
Okay. We'll keep that quiet. But if they're the person I think they are, we played together briefly. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes because this is one of those rosters where it is a mass of unformed potential right now. It can go anywhere, and it could be something amazing.
And for a team in a rebuilding phase, kind of what you've described, Colonel, like looking like up and forward, that's a great set of pieces to have, to set you guys up for success.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
Very interested.
The other two players, I think these are my two players. We have hit on a lot of them, but I think Burners is someone I'm incredibly excited for because obviously we had Doc way back when, and I think Burners is he reminds me a lot of Doc. in how he played and how he commanded the team. And I also think I'm very excited for Thievery, but this is part of what we're a little unsure about. If Thievery is not playing, Kilistera is an absolutely disgusting AD carry. She is someone that if she is starting next week, I think we'll be turning a lot of heads. So I think I would agree with Leper a lot that this team has a lot of strong pieces, a little bit unmolded, and if we can come together, I think that we're a force to be reckoned with.
Awesome. I'm ready for the Revolution the Rev MIT matches, man. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, we got some bad blood, and then hopefully, I'm pretty sure Chinese Spy has some bad blood with FTD. We gotta just even the score a little bit.
Much
bad blood. I helped him find a team, but we can pretend that there's bad blood there. It's okay. It's okay.
It's for the content. It's for the content.
Drama's sake, there's a lot of bad blood. Curse that man.
As long as we win.
So next we got
okay.
Subversive Gaming. Yeah. So what I'll say about Subversive, and again, it's not someone you guys probably have more of an insight than I do. The person that excites me on this roster from just looking at OPs is Shadowfax. I think that just from a raw numbers, like looking at, if I remember right, because I don't have the OPs up, but it looks like they made a role swap from season 2020 to now, and I want to say that they were an AD carry and they're going to support. My mind might be off.
From when I first encountered them was fall 2019 in Abyssal League: The Revival. They played with Feathers and Puffin and Dilly, and they were a jungler at the time.
That might be it. I looked at a lot of OPs today.
Yep. So they are the veteran there in that regard.
Looking at the games that they're playing now, the champions that they're playing now, I'm excited about Shadowfax. And then the bot lane in general, I think this bot lane on paper to me looks like one of the stronger bot lanes in this division, which is just Shadow Division. So that's kind of where I'm looking here. I think that Snowy Faye and Shadowfax both look like very strong players on paper, and I'm excited to kind of see how they match up with the bot lanes and the rest of the group.
This is my hot take. If we removed FTD from the equation, this is my team that I think is going to be number one.
Interesting. I don't have a very strongly informed opinion, but I was looking at current ranks and some other stuff, and obviously it's the beginning of season, everyone's ranking up and stuff, but forecasting a little bit, they seem like a lower end or net ranked team, but I haven't looked at everything. But
this is the thing. I've seen a lot of new teams come in.
Mm-hmm.
They are actually a team. They actually know how to play the game. They actually understand what competitive league is, and they can execute it. Right. I've scrimmed this team more than any other, so I have a little more insight there. But this is a solid team for people that really are complete newcomers. To be performing at the level that they are is absolutely wonderful. And this is a team with a ton of potential on top of that.
That's exciting.
Roland is a great top laner. Hulse 95, really solid mid laner. Like they understand how to play certain comps. They understand what objective control is. They understand these things already.
If I could actually put in a little bit of a rebuttal.
Okay.
I DM'd Toxin, who's MIT's coach, because I was curious when we were talking before airing this about how these teams that haven't been in ZGG have been performing, because they've been scrimming a lot, and now that I'm not a player, I'm not as informed on who they're scrimming. And he also spoke very highly of Subversive, and I think that there's for good reason. But my biggest worry, you said good things about Roland, and I think he's a very good player, but he has, pretty sure this is his first season on top lane, playing ADC the majority of previous seasons. And that was a big question mark in our scrims. If he can stand up in the top lane and top lane stays stable, I think the rest of his roster is really, really good. But if top lane is unstable, it can go from unstable to very quickly a loss.
Yeah, and I think that this
would-
group is a group of top laners. Like I think that the top lane is probably one of the better roles in this group. So just to piggyback off that, I think that that'll be interesting to see how he stacks up against the top laners.
No, I wanted to shout out on that end. Captain Ryu looks like a really solid top laner from Arcquake. I forgot to mention that when we were up on that team.
Yeah, he does look very good. I also think
the other on Subversive too.
yeah.
Kageyama Set 85 also plays top lane and does a fantastic job as well. I've laned against them both, and they are both capable.
Mm-hmm. The one thing about this group in general, when you're talking about top laners, I think what's going to be interesting is the sort of dichotomy between like heavy tank players and heavy carry players. I think in IBS so far, or at least in seasons past, it's been a tank player's dream. Or I mean, I know that's what I did. I know Dan is a great General Denobi, who we're going to talk about next. A great tank player. I know one of the tops on this season's MIT roster is tank player. The other one's a heavy carry player. But then we also have people like Captain Rio, and we'll see where Roland fits into that as he starts to feel out the top lane more. But if tanks stay comfortable, then the entire group should shake out a lot differently than if carry tops start to get their run of ZGG, because I think there's a lot of strong carry tops in this group.
So I'm gonna say something kind of nuts that I think only Colonel will understand, at least in this call, and some of you out in the wide world of viewership will understand.
Is it because I'm old?
It's because you've been around as long as me, Colonel.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes,
I mean, if
because
you
you're
want
old,
to view
Colonel.
that as being old, sure. I have not seen a absolutely dominant carry top laner, and I've seen a lot of people try to be dominant carry top laners. I have not seen a dominant, like, league-defining top laner since Evil Gambit.
Yeah, I agree. I think Evil Gambit was the last of the old guard of people who wanted to be carry tops. I think he was obviously the one that sticks out the most because he was very, very good at what he did. I think that's the only person you could see in history. I think this season, cross your fingers that you don't go against Crockpot. And I think you'll quickly
played against Crockpot.
I think
so.
Crockpot,
I had an okay time.
Crockpot is one of the more like Swag Money Boy, and he's more so hot or not compared to other top laners. But when he's hot, he destroys. But
I forgot Mad Jack. Mad Jack, I think champion pool wise is a little different, but Mad Jack is the other one. Mad Jack for 2020, Evil Gambit for 2019. But there's really only been one each year, so we'll see. So that brings us to Revolution.
Last one.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We've talked a lot.
Yeah, I think my only hot take on Revolution is that it's not even a hot take. I just think that General Denobi is awesome. He's a great player.
I love you, Dan.
He is in the if I'm stack ranking top laners, he's in the top 3 at least, vying for that number 1 spot. And so that's one point for Rev. The point I'm interested in is Lynx in mid. I thought that Lynx was a pretty stable AD carry. He was AD carry, right? I'm not making that up.
That's correct. Yeah.
Split.
Yep.
So
it's my lane, buddy.
GSG hasn't gotten to scrim Rev. They've been dodging us because they're scared. That's not true. But that's not true. But I'm creating bad blood for content. That's what I'm trying to do. but Link switching to mid, maybe I'm sure Tex, you have some insight on that, but that's the question mark on this team for me is Link stepping out of AD carry and going mid. How is that going to, when we have these hyper carry mid laners and a lot of them throughout so we have the mix, but when Lynx gets put up against the Yasuo, against Skeleton, against these other hard carry mid laners, how is he going to hold up?
It's going to be interesting. I am a big fan of our roster, especially the new faces. Lespanx and Zill or Ziliak. I want to talk about Ziliak for a second. To what Colonel was talking about with MIT, trying to find a voice to replace Doc, right? You know what? We have
It's a
the
tall task.
same. We're in the same boat. We've got the same job. Like Doc was a major force on our team, and um, just Doc, myself, and Kurt or Unknown Angel. We moved on to the gold team, and we had to find a voice to replace Doc. And Zill has stepped up to the plate there. Zill is a fantastic jungler. I think he's a very strong mechanical jungler, but I think the thing that he brings is a solid voice to the team that's proactive, that's there to make plays and get the game rolling. And him and Dan especially have been communicating very well, and having some good synergies in terms of directing the team, right? Leveraging that veteran perspective. That's a great mid game team fighter in the top lane, and then this early game like comes in with a game plan jungler. I think that's going to be one of the strengths of our team.
I think to bounce off that with Zill, I probably
We see you,
will.
Leper.
I probably will go into more detail in future weeks about what it means when did I die?
No, you're here. We see you.
My ping just hit 1,000. But what it means when you lose Doc. But I think something that is my biggest worry for Revolution is what Doc brought that was incredibly valuable. That obviously our failure as an org for MIT last split goes to show is Doc was very good at being the resolution to a lot of problems. He could keep tempers on hold, and because of his strong voice on the team, he was an amazing player in terms of glue for a roster that otherwise wouldn't mesh. That he can help that, and I don't know everyone on Rev. I do know Denobi, and he was a really cool guy. But I also know that there are some big personalities on that roster, and if with the removal of Doc, they clash, I would be very worried for Evolution. But if Zill can not only fill that in a communication sense and in a play sense, but also in terms of that personality and making sure the roster doesn't blow up, then I think they could be good. But I do think they have a high chance of being one of those volatile teams that either pops off or falls off very quickly.
100%. Leper.
Thing I want to add to this is Lespanx, 100% candidate for top tier AD carry.
On paper, he looks gross for sure. I haven't seen him play, but he looks really good.
He's gross. The other thing that I want to say is I think for all of us in this call, consistent he is. Kenobi is the measuring stick for all the other top laners. He is the bar by which we compare to.
Yep.
Not just because of how good he is, but also how consistent that good is.
100%. 100% agree. We have him as a sub for our top side in gold, right? And he's been subbing in for some of our scrims, and he's going toe to toe, and it's that consistency, right? It's a big deal. What were we gonna say, Leper?
So, what I was going to say is I was going to move us on to the final thing that we've covered. We've been talking a long time about these 12 teams. We do have a match that's happening in about 5 minutes from when I say these words. We've got the streamed match for this week is going to be a really important one. I'm really, really, really hyped for this.
Wait, I
That is. Go on, Colonel.
don't want to. Wait, you can say it first, but I think it might have changed. Don't want to rain in your
It might have
parade. But
changed.
I think it might have changed.
Sad boy.
Oh
The,
no.
the match that's streamed.
Yeah.
Well, it would be nice for production to tell me.
we're gonna DM production real quick and try and find out. But right now
So-
we're going off the information
So
as of
in that
1-8.
case, this is. We won't cover what match may or may not be streamed, and this entire bit of conversation may be completely irrelevant 5 days from now when this is actually being broadcast. What I'm going to say then is I'm going to ask Colonel, which of these matches do you think is the most informative going forward? What
Ooh.
match of all of these is going to tell you the most
Can I pick one per
for
group?
our discussion next week?
Can I pick one per group?
Sure. We can pick one per group.
Awesome. So for Group B, it's got to be Feed the Dream Revolution. It's the legacy match, of course, and I think it's going to be a big tell of what kind of revolution we see if Zil can fill the very big shoes that he has to fill or not. I think that's going to be very telling for how the entire group shakes out. And for the Void Division, I think that Fallen versus VBU. Fallen University is an unknown name that has a lot of expectations built up for being someone that doesn't have a legacy behind them. That's here to build their own legacy. And I think a great org to come out the gate strong against is VBU, and to say we're not just some random new team. We're here to win.
Awesome.
I have to agree with that.
Decker.
Yeah. So for me,
So you agree that those are the.
I have some differences, but
so for and I'm gonna get the names wrong. For Shadow Division, I think this is right. I would go with Crosspoint and MIT. I think MIT being on a rebuilding year, and Crosspoint being a sort of an unknown but like good on paper team. I think that for MIT specifically, this could be very season defining. You know, there's like a lot of good parts about this roster, and going up against someone that you don't really know much about and losing can set a tone for the rest of the season that is not great. You know, if MIT is going up against FTD, who is full of people that they know and have seen around the scene, and lose, I think you can rationalize that as we're a new team and we're building up. But I think if you go up against Crosspoint, who on paper again is a very strong team, and then lose, I think it could set a really bad tone for the rest of the split and could lead to bad things. But maybe
I didn't think about that, and now I'm worried about that.
I'm sorry. And then for the Void Division, I'm this is so biased, but for me it's Goon Squad versus Beyblades. I think it's this exact same situation of a team of new faces versus a team that is rebuilding. Those are the really interesting storylines to me. So I think those sort of parallel each other in setting a tone for either GSG's season on the anime. I like the text, the anime arc, like the redemption arc, and then MIT's
Hell yeah,
also.
dude.
So that's sort of where I land.
so my lever, can I go?
And you, Tex?
Yes. Okay. So I agree. It's hard. There's a couple of them that really stick out to me, but if I had to pick one from each group, it's going to be Revolution and FTD. A little bit of bias, but I also think it's going to be a testing ground for both teams, right? I think Revolution is going to have to prove that they're as good as they were last split with a lot of these new pieces. And I think that if FTD loses to this roster of Revolution in week 1, that's gonna be huge. I think that's gonna be huge because I think FTD are heavy favorites for the whole thing, in my opinion. And I think Revolution is kind of middle of the pack playoffs, but not sure how far we can get beyond that. I am confident that by the time we get to playoffs with the Revolution team, that we will be one of the best teams out there. But I think if we could start out week 1 beating FTD, that would be huge. But I think it's just gonna be like Colonel was saying, this is legacy teams, and you got one team that's coming in swinging with FTD, and we got another team that is kind of going through a mini rebuild and
Hey,
has this
Tex,
legacy and has this skill sets. Yeah,
before you go to the next group, I think that I'm putting you both on the spot, but I think we have a representative from Rev and one from FTD. I think whoever loses should have to shave their beard.
dude,
Between the two of you.
I'm gonna. No one should mention this because
I'm not gonna say the stakes are even. That's not what I'm saying.
I swear to God, if Rev wins and Leper has to shave his beard, whoa! I am so there for it.
I will not wager my beard, but I will
look at Tex's
wager.
beard. It's such a risk for him.
Fuck off, Decker.
If FTD loses, I will appear on the next episode of Silver Scraps in my kitty pajamas.
Oh my lord!
There you go.
Tex, I believe in you. You can rally this team to a victory. I believe in you.
We got this. I'm gonna take this back to the squad. I'm gonna be like, guys, you have to fucking win. You gotta fucking do it.
All right, I interrupted you. I have to go ahead.
No, yeah. I think this is gonna be one of the toughest matches for Revolution across the entire split. Coming right out of the gate. I think on the other side, for me, I know I was very critical of them, but CB Rookies versus Abyssal Emerald is probably my biggest match of the week next week. Because both of those teams, Abyssal Emerald is my dark horse team, and CB Rookies is the team that I have the counter opinion on. I am on the other side of the train tracks here from you guys, and if they win, if they show up, if they 2-0, and they show me, yeah, we're here to contend and we're here to win 25 minutes. We're controlling objectives. We're getting those dragons. We're getting that first herald. We're running this game and we're doing it as a unit. Then more power to you. You've proven me wrong. But if Abyssal Emerald comes in, even gets a 2-1 win or whatever over him, that's going to be big to me too. That's going to be very telling to me.
I think I also agree that match is important. Probably for the picture perfect exact opposite reasons. I think CB Rookies are my dark horse team. I think that if they come out the gate swinging, Swag Money Boy is back on his disgusting gauntlet form, that they can give anyone a run for the money. And Abyssal, I think, is on this proving ground where they have to start making a name for themselves. And I think beating someone that has a lot of actually strong pieces is a great first step to do so.
100%. Leper, what you got?
So first of all, I'm going to say this is my second split in a row with FTD where we are coming in absolutely heavy favorites, and I have to say it absolutely sucks.
Nowhere to go but down.
I don't feel bad for you. I'm sorry.
I feel bad.
Okay,
as someone who has been in that spot, MIT had so much of they'll win until they get to finals and then they'll lose. It sucks having expectations because failing them just hits you so much harder.
I understand
nice
that.
Part for me,
Go ahead.
The nice part for me is my computer blew up and then Tex kicked my ass so hard I didn't play a single game after that last split. So I completely understand falling short of expectations. I also understand it from your end too, because I'm the one that broke that streak. So I understand. For different reasons than y'all, Beyblades and Goon Squad is the Void match to watch. And the main reason that this is my match to watch is because that match is going to tell me more about the entire state of the group as a whole compared to any of the others. They are both solid teams, Beyblades and Goon Squad, and how that shakes out is going to say a lot about not just those two teams, but how my view of the entire group is. And for similar reasons to that, Arcquake versus Subversive is my match to watch in Shadow Isles. I think that's going to be way more telling about who are other strong teams, because to me, both of these teams have the potential to be number one.
Mhm.
more so than both teams in Revolution and FTD. So I think seeing how those two stack up against each other also is going to tell us a lot about how that group shakes out.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, hey, good
I'm
luck to the
excited.
teams that are playing in the next 5 minutes when this is getting aired.
Good luck to everyone. Kick some
Yep.
ass out there.
We're
Play with
supposed to be
confidence.
airing this in such a way that we stop at 7:45. That's the way that we're supposed to get it done.
Yep.
Any other thoughts that we have before we close it out and let people prep and get ready for their games?
I've never been more of a Revolution fan.
Oh shit, man!
I
Let's
want to see
go.
I want to see those pajamas,
Go.
man. I want to see them.
I'm here for my squad. Zill, Lynx, Danobi, Cosmos Desire, Lespanx. Let's go, man. We're gonna kill it. I'm excited for all the new faces. I
Yeah.
think everyone that's coming in. Not everyone got a chance. We didn't get a chance to talk about everyone, but as the time goes on, we're gonna start talking about names, and I'm excited to talk about new names, man.
Yep.
Like,
Hard agree.
get some new faces in there. Let's show up. Let's kick some ass. Play with confidence and have some fun out there.
Split, there are names that we know and names that we're excited for and names that we're hyped about. There's also a lot of names that we're going to be really, really excited about, really, really looking forward to playing, really, really hyped about that we haven't even touched, that we have no idea who they are yet. And that's what's going to be really, really fun.
100%.
With no other thoughts, I'm just going to say, check the ranked game requirements. It's in each schedule page. This is the only time I'm going to give you a warning about this. You can look at it anytime you check the standings or the schedule. You need 13 games to be eligible for week 2. Pay attention to the fact that if you only play the minimum amount of games, you will be very, very short of the requirement for playoffs. So plan accordingly.
All right. Well, that's Silver Scraps episode 1. Good
Did we
luck,
come in
everybody.
under 2 hours?
We'll see you next time.